Twins get a breather thanks to a rainout in Boston. As a result, they gain a little ground, they lose a little ground, and it sets up a huge Pablo Sunday at Fenway with a doubleheader. Let's talk about it after getting locked on Twins.
You are Locked On Twins, your daily Minnesota Twins podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
That's right. Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to Locked On Twins, your daily go-to destination for the top Minnesota Twins insight, discourse, and analysis. Personally, it's my favorite show of the Locked On Podcast Network, which famously brings you your team every day. I'm co-host Dave Brown, a professional ball writer since 1998, a BBWA member since 2012, and a Baseball Hall of Fame voter since this year. Please follow me on Twitter at AnswerDaveBrown if you like. And across from me in cyberspace is Brandon Warren, a Twins watcher for 30 years who not long ago covered the team on a daily basis professionally. He asks that you spam him rudely on Twitter at Brandon_Warren with an E at the end. This episode, by the way, features what happened Saturday in the AL pennant chase, which doesn't necessarily include a Twins game because they were rained out at Fenway. But just because the Twins didn't play, that doesn't mean that the wild card race stops. The Tigers beat the Orioles in 10 in what appeared to be an entertaining possible playoff preview. But, that's no shade on the Twins. Just because the Tigers might be in the playoffs, that doesn't mean the Twins won't be, because the Royals lost for the sixth straight time again to the Giants. And KC just might be playing itself out of the postseason. The Royals losing also means that the Cleveland Guardians, sad music cue, have clinched the AL Central title. Hooray. But before we go into detail on all that, let's ask Brandon, who is bringing us this episode of Locked On Twins?
Well, good evening, sports fans. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. If you're not aware, that's like tomorrow if you're listening when this comes out, or today if you're listening the day after. So visit FanDuel.com to get started. Also, you can catch every pitch of the Twins' hometown broadcast with Chris Atterbury and friends on Sirius XM. Just download the SXM app, search Twins. Dustin Morse has the pitching matchups for the double dip on Sunday at 11:35 a.m. Minnesota time. Pablo Lopez will face Nick Pivetta, and at 4:35 Minnesota time, Zebby Matthews will face Kutter Crawford. So should be a good one, or two actually, at Fenway Park, with a chance for the Twins to, after picking up and losing some ground today, a sweep would obviously be real nice if they can keep Kansas City doing what Kansas City has done for about the last week or so.
You know what would be nice? Some runs, and not in the 12th or 13th inning.
Yeah.
I think just getting a few runs would take a little strain physically, mentally off the rest of the team. Honestly, the starting staff, the relief staff, that was, people were like, hey, wasn't that a great game? And talking about the game 2 nights ago now. And Corey Probus was like, that's the Twins' best win of the year. And it's like, well, since they won, sure, I guess. But, if they hadn't won, people would be calling it, I don't know what they'd be calling it, but they'd be calling it like the 10th time that was the worst game of the year, because they stranded like 17 or 18 men. I don't know what it was. Both teams combined for. It was torturous. It was difficult. It was not a game that you'd send to Cooperstown, but they won, and that's not all. Actually, that's not all that matters, because everything has consequences. But they did win, and they gained some ground on the Tigers finally. And then yesterday, of course, or today, they didn't play because it was rained out. And I'm trying to figure out, Brandon, is it good or is it bad that it was rained out? It's good because the bullpen gets a day off, which they need. And maybe the Twins needed one too at large with the bullpen usage. One thing that Twins Daily does nicely is they keep track of the bullpen usage report, so you can kind of look and see easily, and they do it for you. How many times Duran has pitched in the last 5 days, and how many pitches he's thrown, and Duran and Jackson down the line. So, but we've got this situation where the Twins didn't play; they get a day off, but now they got to play 2 tomorrow. Which means, we're not going to see Duran or Jax in both games, I wouldn't think. That would be very anti-Rocco, very anti-Mackey Where are you on this? Is this just kind of another big pain in the butt?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's going to be more beneficial than playing today. Then again, if Pablo had gone 8, as you would hope, that changes the calculus a little bit. By the way, the bullpen went 7 innings and struck out 14 batters. The last time the Twins bullpen went at least 7 innings and struck out at least 14 batters. It's only happened twice. Yes, this weekend and July 7th, 2019, since the Twins moved from DC I thought I was supposed to have if it goes to extra innings. I do not. Anyway, only twice. That night, Kyle Gibson pitched an inning. Devin Smeltzer, Ryan Harper, Zach Littell, Trevor May, Adalberto Mejia, and Matt McGill combined for 15 strikeouts in a 4-1 extra innings loss at Target Field against the Texas Rangers. So before that, it was 1951. And before that, a tie in 1913. And, those each of those last 3 before this, they pitched at least 10 innings. So those were extra inning games. Just incredible bullpen effort. And so I think that kind of feeds back to they haven't run out of pitching. There's a prominent Twins writer who I don't want to start anything with, and I'm not trying to.
Dan Hayes?
Dan Hayes adjacent, who said that the Twins had simply run out of pitching. And I pulled up the stats for every single month, and this is not the only way to look at it, but their average month is like a 4.16 ERA, 1.35 WHIP, and they've done that every single month. Now, that's not to say they didn't run out of pitchers. So it's a semantical thing. They've managed to hang by the skin of their teeth because David Festa has figured some things out. Zebby Matthews has been, ebb and flow, Zeb and flow. So
I like that. That's good.
Yeah. And so I think
thinking that now. I like that. That's good turn of phrase.
I did. I think the offense has been the bigger issue though. And that was really magnified on Friday night at Fenway. I was watching the game on my phone during a podcast I was at downtown Minneapolis, a theater show. And I kept bracing myself for, I have notifications for @Twins. And I was so ready for final 2-1. And true to form, I mean, the Twins are, and I pulled this again because it's so bothersome to me, 1-44 when they score fewer than 3 runs this year. When they score more than 3 runs or 3 runs, they are 80-29, third best record in MLB. And guess how many runs they scored in this one? Greater than or equal to 4 or 3 with 4. So had they lost
4, didn't they not?
Yes. Had they lost, they would have most likely lost earlier, having scored, 0, 1, 2 runs. I keep coming back to the fact that it seems like that's just a magic number. 3 runs, and they're almost golden. Like a 734 winning percentage comes out to, I'm just mathing it up here. The Twins are a 119 win team when they score at least 3 runs. That to me seems important. That seems notable. Am I wrong?
I mean, it seems notable. I know I didn't have to compare that then to the rest of the league, but
I'm doing that right now.
We've seen
108. It's 10 wins. It's 11 wins better than league average.
That's good. Well, that does indicate something. Well, we know the Twins have a good offense, even with some guys who aren't in the lineup every day who are considered their best players, or with some guys slumping who are considered their best players, Royce. We know that they have it in them. So we were praising the bullpen a minute ago for having so many strikeouts and keeping the Red Sox. And I don't want to throw water on that. I think sometimes though there are games like this where the hitters just start to put way too much pressure on themselves to do something. And I'm pretty sure that the Twins were doing that. I mean, but the only thing about that is there've been a bunch of games like that lately. That was like the entire Cleveland series where it's oh, there's another opportunity, and it just in this one too. I made a joke that the Twins had runners at first and third again. The Red Sox have them just where they need them. They want them. So I think some of it is on the other guys, the pitchers, and some of it is on the hitters just trying to do too much in those at bats. And I don't know how you, other than having success and then having that pressure lifted, I don't know how you get around that.
Like break through, break the seal. Was it you that tweeted me about how it warmed your heart to see the Orioles strand a couple runners in scoring position and extras tonight? Or someone tweeted that to me. Like, as a Twins type, you must feel your heart, your cold heart warmed ever so slightly by that, because
I wasn't the one who sent that, but I have thoughts like that every now and then about different subjects where I see some team the Twins just got done playing in some other city, doing something that looks a lot like what the Twins did. And it's like, oh, it isn't just Minnesota. It isn't just.
I think that's why I find that narrative so irksome from Twins fans, is like, just watch a few games of other teams. Like, as I keep saying, a minimum of 5 games for any team and any year will break your brain. Like, even the 2001 Mariners, who were incredible, I'm sure they had 5 games that were like, how'd they lose that one? They probably had 30 that were like, how'd they win that one? But again, it's just, baseball's not designed to be broken down the way it is day by day by day on Twitter, and it's probably just better for me to not be on there.
Speaking of broken down, I'm broken down enough that I need a break, and we're going to talk some more Twins baseball after this. But first, we're going to listen to some fine words about our sponsors.
Well, hello again, old friend eBay Motors. eBay Motors wants you to know that passion, drive, and patience are not only the formula for winning championships, but what also keep your ride alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. They got superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and so much more. Whether you're into speed, power, style, or performance, eBay Motors has you covered. And with over 122 million parts for your number one ride, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time, or you get your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. And with all the prices you need parts you need at the prices you want, got that twisted up a little bit there, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. So keep your ride alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply, but eBay's Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers.
Brandon, I had asked if the extra day off was good for the Twins or bad, and you kind of said it was good, but so I looked up. Yeah. So I looked up like Pablo with 5 days of rest instead of 4, because he's going to have 5 days of rest. And he's actually better with 4.
But I think at this point in the year, that's another
misleading step.
I think adding that day in April versus, like if there's a snow out, which happened in, I keep going back. Greg Masterson was talking about the 2013 Twins being the most inconsequential or whatever irrelevant Twins team of the last 25 years. And, if it wasn't that team, it was 2018. And that team had snowouts early in the season. I remember Logan Morrison just being pissed. And so I mean, it's different when you get a 5, extra days rest early in the season versus this time of year. So I think I'm cooler with it now, and maybe just willing to be like, all right, the data is what the data is, but I'm not going to worry about it too much, as opposed to, if it's earlier in the season and he's had 20 starts or 15 starts rather than what's he closing in on now? 31, 32 probably.
Yeah, actually he can finish the season with as many starts as he had last year, the last 2 years, I think, if he makes 2 more. So
was that 34?
32.
32. That's still good.
Yes. So if you make every start and you have a 5-person rotation, you will make 33 starts, I believe. I think it's 30.
Oh yeah, math. I don't know why I was thinking 35.
I mean, you can if you skip some, but so he's a little better. He's his slash line 277, 328, 428 with 5 days of rest. That's 17 times that's happened, and 9 times when he's gotten 4 days of rest. 198. Wow. 235, 358. So
that's this year?
That is this year, yes.
Okay, so he's got off days and stuff that are built in there. Yeah. And so I think too, they're not gonna skip somebody in the regular season with a Monday off in like June. It's just that's not the way they conduct business, and maybe most teams don't. But yeah, so that's why I think there's enough data where you might actually be onto something here.
Maybe I looked at like the last handful of recent starts, and there's no pattern to it. It seems like sometimes who knows what benefits pitchers and why. But sometimes he's been a little better with the 5. Sometimes he's a little bit better with the 4. I think, like you said, you made a very good point. This time of year, the extra day, the Twins will take it. That's good. That's the good part. The bad part, like I said before, is you can't, in all likelihood, pitch Duran and Jax in both games. And before, maybe you could have. So
well, and you're covering 2 games in one day as opposed to 1 game each day. There's differences there. But the nice thing is having Monday off, and so it's certainly beneficial. For some reason too, I was convinced that there was 2 games against Miami and 4 against Baltimore, but it's actually 3 and 3. I think Roster Resource may have missed the Thursday game and had the Twins as off and then fixed it because it's David Festa against Valente Beloso. I feel like that's the AOC meme where he's doing the Italian thing. But anyway, Monday off will also help. So they could probably push a little harder. And ideally, I mean, we saw the Twins lose the Pablo start in Cleveland and win, was it the Zebby start? So, I mean, there's no rhyme or reason to any of it. But if they were to get Pablo to go 8 and then really lean into the bullpen in the second game and then have Monday off, I mean, that's a pretty good place to be at this point in the season. But again, best laid plans at this time of year.
Right. So going into today, if they had played, Varland had worked 3 straight games. Cole Irvin was the only pitcher who didn't pitch Friday, but he was coming off 30 pitches on Thursday. Duran had worked in 3 of 4, as did Sands. Jackson worked in 4 of 5, which is killing Rocco and Mackey, with his only day off being Wednesday. Tonkin and Blewett, who has not blown it lately, pitching their hearts out. They're the only ones really on light duty. So they're on light duty, and there's a new guy we've talked about before. Brent Hedrick is up. They announced that he's coming up, and Ronnie Enriquez has been sent back for the moment.
Thank you for your service, Ronnie Enriquez.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he'll probably be back.
He did a fine job. I mean, he did a fine job, and that bothered me that the Twitter discourse around him after Cleveland was like that he was some schlub they threw out there when he's not striking anybody out, but his numbers were fine. It wasn't as though they went to Caleb Thielbar 3 months ago when he couldn't get anybody out.
Right. So, but it'll be interesting to see Brent Hedrick and how he's used and how he's been looking terrific at AAA.
Up before Funderburk too. That's something to think about because I know Theo Tollefson, our postcast buddy, said that he thought Funderburk was pretty close too. And now Justin Topa threw on Friday an inning and only gave up a 3-run homer, but being on the mound is a huge victory for him.
Topa's velocity, though, I read was around the same that it was before he got hurt. So, or before he was out. So I don't know if he's advancing or not, but
to be realistic, I wouldn't plan on it, but maybe.
No. Right. So we'll see what Hedrick does in a long relief or short relief left. No, the Twins got to, and Theo Bar has not been. He's been okay. He hasn't been like totally consistent, but he's certainly had moments where you're like, all right, well, Theo Bar got some guys out, and that's good. So,
and I feel like if you were in a series against the Guardians, like let's say you get past the Astros or whatever, you could bring Theo Bar in with a couple guys on and Josh Naylor up, and it's like the end of an inning. Now, if you've got 2 out, 2 on, and it's Naylor, why not Theo Bar? You're not worrying about. If he gives it up, you may as well just let him finish the inning. And if he doesn't, he gets the out. He doesn't have to face 3 batters if he doesn't go back out there. Like, you can still make lefty specialists work in a vacuum. Is that enough reason to keep a guy on your roster for an entire postseason? Nah, maybe not so much. But I'm just saying, I think you're onto something where he's not completely without usefulness for a team that is primed to go to the postseason. They're 76.6% as of this writing, 77-2 for the Royals, 39-8 for the Tigers, even with their heroic victory beating the Orioles today.
Yeah, the standings are kind of funny right now because I mentioned earlier that the Twins lost a little ground, gained a little ground. They gained ground on the Royals, who have lost 6 in a row. And I think, not to pat myself on the back, but I think it is the several years of inactivity in the off seasons before this one that are kind of coming home to roost. Their lack of depth and the things that they don't have are sort of showing, and the injuries that they've sustained. They don't have enough really to overcome that. And I'm just, the rest of their schedule isn't particularly daunting, but I'm wondering if the Tigers and the Twins are both going to make the playoffs, and it's the Royals on the way out. So they would need to slide a little bit more, but it's certainly doable.
I did have people come calling on some receipts where I said I didn't think the Royals were going to make the playoffs. And about a month ago, they were like, oops, what happened? I'm not going to circle back, but I just, you know what? It's like the tortoise and the hare. Don't count your chickens before they've hatched. Don't say
a lot of animals going on right now. Tortoises, hares, chickens.
Yeah. Oh, cross the finish line before you gloat.
So the other thing, Manuel Margot, I've had some trouble keeping up with this record because people keep throwing out different numbers. He's 0 for 30 as far as at bats go as a pinch hitter, and that has broken the Johnny Gomes record. I guess Johnny Gomes had been 0 for 29 one season as a pinch hitter, and Magoo is now 0 for 30, but he's also, some people call it 0 for 35 because he's got some walks. And I think that's unfair and very misleading and very confusing to me.
Very unfair.
0 for 39 or is it 0 for 30 or is it 35? Is it?
Well, and how funny is it that it's Gomes who is like the designated lefty hitting specialist on some good teams and kind of like the clubhouse guy? Like if you were to expect anybody to run through the clubhouse naked to energize the team, that would probably be him. It was Mike Redmond for the Twins back in the early aughts, but there was always like that one guy in the clubhouse that would be, oh, who's going to do the weird thing to get us going again? I don't think that's Manuel Margot necessarily, but it is just, it's just uncanny how it's gotten to this point. And I don't think he's putting him back out there because he's quote unquote due, as some people seem to be saying. Like, I know Corey Provis said that, but he wasn't saying it from a statistical standpoint. He's just like, at some point, this has to happen. This is a statistical anomaly on the, just on the nth degree. And so I don't know. I think it's over 30, and I think the record was, when he got to 29 was the record, right? I think 28 was the Gomes record, and he beat it with 29.
I believe that's right.
Yikes.
I believe that's right. But he's got some walks in there, so it's not over 35. I've seen some of that too. And I didn't like that because a walk is good for a pinch hitter. It isn't necessarily as good as a single or a hit, but it's better than an out. And Johnny Gomes, by the way, I don't know if it was that season, but he's a World Series champion with the Red Sox. So
13 maybe, or 14, something like that.
18?
18? That recent? Okay.
I think so. I think that was it. That was the Johnny Gomes.
Probably.
But so, just because it doesn't mean the guy can't be a contributing person. So, and I've thought several times with Margot coming up, all right, well, this is where he went all season without getting a pinch hit, and then he got a big one to win a game to help put him in the playoffs. It's still a good possibility that's going to happen. So
they should pinch hit him against, like, if Miami comes to town and pitches, I can't even, if they still had Nick Gordon, coming off to throw, have Margot come up and hit off Nick Gordon and break through for a hit. That would have been, to me, pretty hysterical.
Great trades, Falvey. I can't believe you mentioned Zach Littell in there. There's another guy who played for the Twins who's like throwing shutouts this week.
That dude is one of my go-to guys. I love that guy.
Yeah, I picked him up on the fantasy waivers.
I just think he's a good dude. Stuart Littell, his middle name's Stuart. I always laughed about that with his mom, who followed me on Twitter for a while there. Yeah, Stuart Littell.
All right, we got one more break to do, and then we've still got some Twins to talk about.
All righty. One more go around with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Not that we're going to be done with FanDuel, but this promotion, this new one, where through September 22nd, which is very, very soon, something different here. All FanDuel customers who bet $5 can get a free 3-week trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV if you're a Vikings fan out there. It's an exciting time to be a Vikings fan. Hard to believe that as we enter week 3 that I'd be saying that. But if you are out of market and want to catch Vikings Sunday afternoon games, this is for you. You just need to, again, bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial from NFL Sunday Ticket and YouTube TV. So again, with a YouTube TV base plan, then you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel at any time. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sports book and get yourself 3 free weeks of NFL Sunday Ticket.
I was trying to figure out, I'm backtracking a little bit. I'm trying to figure out what kind of pitching performance I can expect from the Red Sox starters tomorrow. Pivetta is a guy who is like a box of chocolates. You just never know what you're going to get. I mean, he could go out there and go 7 and give up a run and whatever, or he could blow up real good. Kutter Crawford, the first half of the season, looked like he was putting it together, like with his cutter, like people thought maybe that he could. Second half, he's been super inconsistent. I have to think Fenway Park, they're vulnerable to home runs, these guys, especially Pivetta. I have to think that this is the day that the Twins, they break through again for like 10. Maybe it'll take 2 games. I don't know. But
yeah,
they really need to do. I mean, that's what needs to happen. I think that the bullpen has shown up. Louis Varland he's adjusted to his relief role.
And that's what I said, right? They're going to put him out there and say, hey, listen, he's going to figure it out and kind of get his wheels spinning and finally catch. Like he's got chains on his wheels or his tires, like very Minnesotan of him, and he'll be fine. Yeah, I thought that was going to be the case, and did not take long. It was a week ago he was getting pounded, and now he's a guy out there that they can go to in big spots.
Yeah, and you mentioned thinking that the Twins didn't have enough pitching. That end could still end up being true
for sure.
In this final push here before the playoffs, I think the offense. You mentioned Margot being due. They're due. They're due to get on another of their weird runs. They're not going to finish the season like they've been doing so poorly.
You talk about due from a statistical anomaly standpoint, but somebody else pointed out for 4 months this was the best in the conversation for the best offense in baseball. It's just the inconsistency of the game is one thing, and they've had some guys hurt. Jose Miranda's fallen off. Edouard Julien can't seem to get unglued from the bench, and Miranda was that way for a while too. So I don't know. I mean, Kyle Farmer is kind of the guy right now, which is pretty indicative of where they've been offensively for the last few weeks.
There's a movie, I don't remember what. Oh, it's what's it called? Rising Sun with Wesley Snipes and Sean Connery, and they have a lot of Asian Sun Tzu references, Eastern kind of things. And there's a bit of wisdom from Sean Connery's character, an older man, who says, if you wait by the side of the river long enough, the dead body of your enemy will float by. And I think that's just that's a good. I mean, it's good. It's Sun Tzu stuff. It's good. Whatever. If you just are, it's about being patient and waiting out the bad times. I will say this about the offense: for as much as I'm like they're due, they have taken some just absolutely pathetic swings lately. I mean, I don't know if that is just pressing or what, and just being absolutely exhausted mentally. But before, when they wouldn't score runs, it would be like, well, they're hitting the ball hard, but it's right at somebody. There's still a little bit of that, but yeah. I've seen a lot. They've really become undone, unglued, undisciplined lately, and I think it is. I don't know if it's panic, but it's certainly anxiety, I think, over not doing well. They just need. That's why if they just have one of these games where they can score 7, 8, 9, 12, 40, 14 runs, it's going to set them straight mentally and give them a reset.
I liked the 40. And that's why I think if the offense clicks, again, we've seen what they can do in games where they don't have to blow teams out. 3+ runs is nothing.
Right.
And they're the third best team in baseball when they score 3 runs or more. That's why I'm still in on this team making noise in the postseason even though all the trolls and whatnot are like, no, they're done, they're cooked. I mean, yeah, they're more likely to be right than not, just because there's 37 teams that make the playoffs every year. But from a logistics standpoint, they're not. They've got a chance. They definitely have a chance if they can get in, which I think they will, to make some money.
Last thing that I wanted to mention on my side, Sonny Gray finishes his season with a 3.84 ERA. In 166 innings, he's got right forearm flexor tendonitis, which sounds like a bad omen for something. But that's a guy who, let's just, there's a butterfly effect in effect. But does that mean that if Sonny Gray were still on the Twins, he would have this deal and he'd be like diminished or possibly hurt or maybe not around when they needed him?
They're going to shut him down because the Cardinals are cooked, right? I mean, so
yes, that's why. But he's still got this injury.
But I mean, he threw 166 innings and missed part of the first month. So I mean, there's a lot at play here where it's like, if he misses the first month, what do Twins fans think? If he misses the playoffs, what do Twins fans think? If he misses, any other time, like there's just like you're saying, the butterfly effect of if they had kept him and we're still dealing with his injury and Joe Ryan's injury and Chris Paddock's injury, how different does this look? Does that extra $25 million spent, which is the gap between last year's payroll and this year's, still have them right back where they are right now? And I think it's a valid question to raise.
All right, with that, we are going to call it a night on Locked On Twins and let the Twins play their doubleheader tomorrow. What's Sully up to?
Yeah, find Paul Sullivan, a.k.a. Sully, on Locked On MLB. It can be your second listen after you make us your first listen of the day. So get ready for the Fall Classic with Sully, who is hilarious, got his national expertise every single day in the dog days. So Locked On MLB, it's on the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day.
For Brandon, this is Dave, and this has been Locked On Twins, and we are going to Casilla
tomorrow night.
Goodbye.